sure a lot of you might remember this machine. This is the Compact Presario Walmart case. All the stickers on it. This hardware within. It's an Asus P5PE VM. Used to be my main computer back when it was brand new in 2006. It wasn't too bad when it was my main computer, but it's starting to get a little long in the tooth. One of the RAM slots has recently died, and I took it out of duty as a NAS, and it's been sitting in the closet ever since. So what we're going to do is we're going to revert it back to its former glory. The optical drive I'm not going to change, the floppy I'm not going to change or anything like that, but I've put an 80 gigabyte Western Digital Caviar hard drive in it. I still need to get the IDE ribbon cable, and we'll get that here in a second, but we'll plug that in and we'll have our original configuration back basically the way that it was when it was brand new. Along with the video card, which is an ATI Radeon X1600 Pro. It wasn't a bad card when it was brand new. This wasn't in there when it was brand new. It's just a random D-Link, or actually I think it's an Ovis Link network card. Not anything particularly fancy, but it needs a network card because the onboard Ethernet doesn't work. It's only 100 megabits, but I don't really care, just as long as it works. Alright, so let me get my IDE cable, and we will continue on with the process of getting this machine ready to go. Okay, let's see if the machine automatically powers on when I hit the power switch. Well, either it's not plugged in, or it does not do so. Alright, there we go, it's on now. I wonder if it's working. I can't actually tell. There's too many things on in here right now making noise. Let's try putting the video on the onboard video. I'll make sure that it's not set for onboard. It should be in system setup right now, if it actually worked. No, I'm getting no video output out of it. That's a great sign. Put it in the closet, bring it back out, and it stops working. Well, that was interesting. I had to deal with the video card, because the video card apparently has a bad power connector on it, which kind of sucks. But I also had to replace my IDE ribbon cable. It's the first time I've had a ribbon cable fail. Well, actually it's not the first time I've had a cable fail, period, but it's the first time I've had one fail like that. So let's see if it works this time. And we'll proceed with our install. There we go, that's better. Change the RAM to the other slot. So what are we going to install? Very good question. I'm intentionally being very vague about it. So you're going to find out for yourself here in just a second. When it does manage to load. Now, first glance would tell you this is Windows 7. Obviously, that's not true if you're listening to me. It could be Windows 8. I think Windows 8 has the same basic setup utility. Don't know about Windows 10. I've never done a fresh install of Windows 10. Or at least the last time I did, it was way in the early pre-release stages. I haven't done a fresh install in that long. Because Windows 10's crap. Nobody should use it. Windows 8 with classic shell is more than good enough. Here we go. Yeah, that's right. Windows Vista. Somebody ought to throw a brick at me, at my head, for trying to install Vista. But the simple fact of the matter is, this is going to be set up exactly as my machine back in the day was set up. I need a mouse. I'm trying to grab a mouse here. Alright, it didn't actually work. Let's see what it thinks of this hard drive. Now, if I remember right, Vista will ask you for a license key as part of the initial phase of setup, because it uses that to determine which version of Windows you are going to install, because on that disk are all the versions of Windows. Home Basic, Home Premium, Business, Ultimate, probably a few others too. I think there's an Enterprise version, Starter version. I don't know if there was a Vista Starter. I know there was a 7 Starter. But I believe the next thing it's going to do is ask me for my activation key. And unlike my Windows 7 key, which I've memorized and can type it in pretty much at random, or at whim, I guess is a better word to use, I have not used Windows Vista in so long that I forget what the key is. So it's a good thing that it's sitting there on that piece of paper, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to find it. But it looks like this is another phase of setup that's going to take quite a while. Welcome to Windows Vista. Yep, it asked me for the product key, so there it is. Home Basic, Home Premium, and Ultimate. I assure you I read those license terms very carefully. Custom install, of course you can't do an upgrade because they're not within Windows. Let's see. So now I gotta go through. I don't know what's on this hard drive. Looks like it was in a dual boot environment. I don't know what this would have come out of. I'm starting to wonder if maybe this was the drive that was out of the system originally. Well, it doesn't really matter because I'm not keeping... Did I put Windows 7 on that? No, I didn't have 7 on that. I had XP, I had Vista, and I had... Oh goodness only knows what else. Alright, so I'm just going to delete all these partitions, because I don't care. Unless I labeled it Windows 7 and actually just installed Vista on it. Well, whatever, doesn't matter. Too late now. Can't find out what it is. Alright, so I'm going to let this finish, and then I'll come back. Take note with interest that apparently there's either something wrong with the video cable or the video card. Look at that nice big cluster of dead pixels up there, and I know that's not the display panel. It's got nothing to do with the monitor. So, I think it's a video card. It's seen action in its life, so... Okay, well, just finished setup. And I think that's probably around where I'm going to conclude the video. But we'll let it do its little thing, and I'll show you the Windows Experience Index. And that'll be that. I'm trying to make shorter videos, and you've probably all seen a Windows Vista install before, especially when it comes down to things like installing all the updates. That's kind of boring. There's really not a whole lot that I plan on doing with this machine, other than to just use it as a little bit of a blast from the past. You know, what once was back in 2005. In a way, I almost missed those days. It's because everything was so much simpler. As the first machine I ever went on to the internet with on broadband. Prior to this machine, the only connection I had to the internet was over dial-up. First it was 14.4, and then 33.6, and then a couple 56K equipped machines came along after the fact. But it was all dial-up. And then of course YouTube came around, and dial-up really was... By 2005, dial-up was a little long in the tooth. So we got broadband. Actually, I think that was 2004 we got broadband. Cable internet at that time. And, yeah, that would have been 2004. Around the time that, that Athlon, what is that? That Athlon 1300 Thunderbird system was created, purchased, built. That was when we got broadband internet. But I never got it until I got this machine in 2005. And let me tell you, it was quite an improvement. But, yeah, that's... It was almost like going to a larger hard drive, because I remember when 120 megabytes was a whole lot. Thought I would never fill that up. And yet here I am, 15 years later, and I've filled up a 2 terabyte hard drive almost, so it's really amazing what happens, how far we've come, how far we've regressed. Those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Windows 10 and certainly Windows 8 and the Metro Modern UI, or what are they calling it now, UWP? I don't know, it seems to change every nanosecond. Every time you look at it, it's a different name, but whatever it is now, that whole interface and how bad it was. It's not churning the disk near me as badly as I remember Windows Vista doing. So I wonder what it's actually doing. Do I have a hard drive LED on this machine? Well, I do. It's really not doing a whole lot. I'll go ahead and have a look. Get the camera off the tripod. And we squeeze in here. See, it's really not doing a whole lot. Not a whole lot of activity. Could be worse. I've certainly seen worse out of Vista. course, the color on the display is really screwing around with the camcorder. It can't see it very well. But I'm going to let this finish, and we'll see where we go from there. Oh yeah, Windows Vista Ultimate. I remember coming downstairs in the basement, sitting down in my really crappy, used to be a kitchen chair. It used to squeak whenever you leaned back in it, and if you leaned back far enough, it would try to give you stitches. And using the machine. First it was the Pentium 120, and then I had a couple laptops, but every time I went down there, it was always the Pentium 120 as my main machine. And then I had this there, and quite a different experience going from the Pentium 120 system to this. I'm gonna have to get that Pentium 120 going. All it needs is a fan and a heatsink assembly. You can buy those on eBay for relatively cheap. I did buy one, but the seller canceled my order. I don't know what happened. So, whatever. I'll have to order another one, I guess. Alright, and it looks like the Aero glass effects even work out of the box. That's cool. That was the whole reason why we bought this video card in the first place. I think if I remember right, I had 2 gigs of RAM. Unfortunately, I can't go back to that anymore because one of the RAM slots is bad on the board, but time marches on, I guess. So let's see here. What do we got going on? Not really a whole lot. I don't remember what anti-malware I used. Oh, I remember this. Let's see if we can still customize it. I know they got rid of these gadgets. So, whatever. Well, that's not working very well. I always like that one, the neon one. Thought it looked cool. Of course, you probably can't even really see it. But, didn't really need it. Some of these other ones are kind of stupid, and I know the weather one doesn't work anymore. I had the weather one, I had a whole bunch of different weather things on there, but yeah, unfortunately, those just don't work anymore. They got rid of those. So I guess that'll just be that. Oh, it's downloading and installing updates. Yeah, that's gonna sap up all my resources. Windows Experience Index isn't too bad. So let's see here. 4.0. The video card actually scores better than the CPU and the RAM, believe it or not. The hard drive gets a 5.3. This thing was absolutely fire-breathing when it was new. It's too bad that time has really moved on from all this kind of stuff. I'm going to have to activate Windows. I'm not really going to bother with all of that on video, so thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off, and I'll see you next time. Till then.